Hello, everybody, and welcome to Friday Apocryphal Podcast, your one-stop shop for everything Friday Apocryphal and podcast. And boy, do we have a show for you today. Today we are covering 2nd Esdras, chapters 7 through 8.
Just 2 today.
Yeah, just 2. Because, and I'm sorry in advance, chapter 7 is 139 verses.
Yep.
I mean, chapter 8 is like 60-something, but that's really nothing in comparison.
Great.
Woo!
We got a good bit of commentary, though, because we got to talk about Gehenna and hell. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, today we have 137, you said?
Well, there's 139 for you.
139 verses in one chapter.
Yeah.
And then on Sunday, we're just going to be talking about the temple.
Yeah. But you know what? At least your chapter's interesting.
Okay. Well, I have the Anchor Bible. It's 1st and 2nd Esdras by Jacob M. Myers.
And I have Erdman's commentary on the Bible, and the section on 2nd Esdras is, of course, from John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt. There's no Jingleheimer, but there's also probably not a Jacob, but it's John J. Schmidt.
We don't know if it's Jacob or not.
We don't know. It could be. There's a chance.
I bet he was not happy about that song.
I don't think he was, no.
No.
None of the John Jacobs were.
No, not even a little bit.
You know, you viewers at home can't tell, but there is an anchor.
Yeah, there's an anchor on the side,
Oh,
too.
you're right.
Yeah.
Can't see
Well,
it.
you can see the anchor on the side.
Yeah. Hopefully. But yeah, it's they have anchors on their books. Makes perfect sense.
Yep. But this anchor here, you can't see, probably.
Not really.
We also have some Messiah
Ooh,
conversations.
Messiah.
Yeah. In
Wow.
fact, I think that translation specifically says Jesus.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jesus. No way.
Yeah. So we're in for quite a ride in this reading.
Well, anything else you want to say about the reading before we do the reading?
No, honestly, I think we can just hop into it.
Wow. Okay. Well, we're about to talk about 2nd Esdras.
Yep. Starting at chapter 7.
Okay. Chapter 7. Now when I had finished speaking these words, the angel who had been sent to me on previous nights was sent to me again. He said to me, "Get up, Ezra, and listen to the words that I have come to speak to you." So I said, "Speak, my lord." Then he said to me, "If a sea is located in a spacious place, broad and limitless, but the entrance to it is confined to a narrow space, like a river, how can one seriously desiring to get to the sea to see it, or to sail it, reach the broad space, except by passing through the narrow space? Well, you go around it."
Jump.
Oh, there's just the narrow space though.
I mean, if there's a river, you don't have
So
to...
you can't think about that.
Yeah, stay in your lane.
Stay in your river.
Again, if a city is built, located on an open plain, and is full of good things, but the road to it is narrow and precariously located because there's a fire on the right side and deep waters on the left.
That sounds like a very dangerous path to me.
Yeah, and there's but a single narrow path between them, that is between the fire and the water, so narrow that it could accommodate the footsteps of only one man at a time. If that city has been bequeathed to a man, how can the heir claim his inheritance if he does not traverse the dangerous path set before him?
That's a good question.
You know, it's like they heard my complaint about walking around the river, and they were like, okay, well, what about this example where there's a huge fire on one side?
and an ocean on the other. What are you going to do then,
It's like,
Reuben?
I guess I can fly. Southwest Airlines.
Yeah, so both of these examples, both of these parables, I guess, show that what is difficult now for Israel will eventually give way to a far more enjoyable fulfillment. So it may be difficult, but you go through that, you crush it. Just you gotta roll with the punches.
Now, we have a little bit of Christian commentary here.
Yeah.
So Myers notes that this entrance thing with the narrow path
Kind of reminds me of the whole eye of the needle.
Well, yeah, he says this is the expression used in Matthew 7:13 and parallel in Luke 13:24, where Jesus speaks of entering by the narrow gate. Here it's the way or entrance that is narrow. This is the only place the idea occurs in apocalyptic literature.
That's actually cool that this is the only place it occurs in apocalyptic literature.
Yeah. The idea of the way made a significant impact on the Mandaeans, as may be seen from the many references to it in their literature. The way is broad and endless without milestones to mark off the distance. At or beside the way is an impassable sea. The way is full of thistles and briars, surrounded by 7 walls. Impregnable and without breach. Adam is too connected with the way as here, though with different motives. What the Mandaeans did with the sea concept is interesting. Well, I can make that judgment for myself. I don't need you to tell me that it's interesting. But yeah, that's apparently something that popped up for them.
And yeah, the Jesus parallel there.
Yeah. I said, "Yes, Lord." He said to me, "That too is Israel's lot. For I did make the world for their sakes, and when Adam transgressed my orders, what was made was judged."
I think we had this before, where, in some texts they're talking about, the sin of Eve, right? But then I think I don't remember if it was second Esdras also, or maybe it was first Esdras, where it was mentioned as like the sin of Adam.
Mm-hmm.
I forget which one it was. Could have been either, or potentially now both.
I don't recall. Now, the author notes in the commentary here to check 1 Baruch 4:12, which we'll get to eventually.
We will, yes.
He says, "Perhaps more is right in pointing to the Christian doctrine of Adam's fall as having left its mark on interpretations here. But what was judged was not the world God made or what Adam was. It was what was made by virtue of the order of things growing out of Adam's malum. It was the order of Adam and not the order of God that was judged." So apparently that's a thing. Yeah, we're all familiar with Adam. We all know the Adam and Eve story.
I don't know. I've never read that one.
Oh. Well, this totally cool dude is
Watch
hanging
episode
out
1.
in his garden.
Oh, I'll watch episode 1. Yeah, that's right. I'll do that.
Yeah, this totally cool dude's hanging out in his garden.
Mm-hmm.
And then God's like, "I'm going to throw a woman in there." And
God.
Apparently that messed everything up for him.
It sounds like an exhilarating story.
Yeah, it's not that fun. Actually, the Garden of Eden story is not great.
And we've heard it 3 or 4 times now.
Yeah. Just wait until we do the Quran. And
Yeah, we'll have to hear it again. Yeah.
You'll hear it like 5 times in the Quran.
Yay.
Okay, so the ways of this world have been made narrow, painful, and difficult. They are few and evil, full of perils and fraught with great hardships.
I feel like, okay, so if God has this wisdom, of course, because he should, right? He's God. Although this is an angel, but it's in effect, these are the words of God. So it's interesting that while he very obviously acknowledges that, like, hey, sometimes you got to go through a whole bunch of bad things to get to a good thing, and the ways of the world are evil, and you just have to deal with it sometimes. I feel like with that, he shouldn't have. Maybe he should have been a little nicer when the Israelites transgressed, because I feel like he would have anticipated that.
You would think that an all-knowing God would have anticipated a lot of things.
You would think, yes.
But no, he never anticipates anything. In fact,
He does, but I think only when it's useful.
yeah, well, he anticipates his own decisions when he's like, I'm going to send Nebuchadnezzar to destroy everything.
No, we had the whole Valley of the Dry Bones thing, right?
Yeah, but wouldn't that also be one of God's decisions?
Can't you just say that, like, everything that happens would effectively be God's decision?
I mean,
By the canon?
no, because the canon institutes that human beings have free will, right? So
Yes, free will to follow God's
It's
plans.
free will to an extent, I would say.
yeah, so like God decides to harden Pharaoh's heart.
Yeah.
God does not decide to force Pharaoh to say the words like, no, I'm not going to let your people go, right? But God also doesn't like outright say, this is what Pharaoh is going to say because I can see the future and I know that this is going to happen. He does say, like, I'm going to make this happen. And when the prophecies occur, it's like God saying, this is my intention to do this thing. Like all of the prophecies about Jerusalem getting sacked by Nebuchadnezzar, that's just like God being like, I am going to punish the people here.
Yeah.
So like he's got knowledge of the future when it comes to his future decisions, at least. Now there might be other parts that say that he's got like absolute knowledge of the future, right?
Right.
But I'm not sure based off of what we've read in the Bible that he does.
Yeah, he definitely has a good amount of knowledge about things that have already happened.
Mm-hmm.
And he certainly can he has a great influence on the future.
Yeah.
So even though it's not as direct as you point out, he certainly does things in a way that where he gets the wanted outcome for him. So while he doesn't, make Pharaoh say those specific words, he knew that by hardening his heart that he would still get that proper outcome.
Right.
And furthermore, do you remember when there were, I forget which part in Kings this was, but there were like a whole bunch of prophets of another god, and he put false words in their mouths, and they said those words, or I forget the exact wording of the verse, or he put their like a lying spirit in them or something like that.
I remember something like that.
Yeah, I don't remember the exact verse, but the point is that even though it wasn't like directly, depending on the phrasing, I guess, but that one was also like he still got the desired outcome that he wanted, even if he wasn't like directly mind controlling them.
Right. But if he were someone with perfect knowledge of the future, a lot of the biblical stories would be a lot more boring. Like, think about when Abraham's arguing with him over the fate of Sodom and Gomorrah. If he were just like, Abraham, I know the future. You're going to lose this argument. There's no point.
Yeah. I'm just thinking from like even sadly Dungeons and Dragons roleplay perspective as the DM, when you're a god, you're supposed to be hyper confident of what the player is going to do.
Yeah.
And this god doesn't act that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, God not a DM, confirmed.
God not a DM, confirmed.
Nope. He does not fudge rolls. He just, puts the dice in the oven for a few minutes so that he gets the rolls that he wants.
That's how you do it. You put the top you want on, or the side you want on the top.
Yep.
And you melt them a bit.
All right, let's continue.
Yeah. Okay, but the ways of the greater world are spacious and secure, and produce the fruit of immortality. You remember the fruit of immortality?
Yeah.
Yeah, the tree of life makes the fruit that gives you immortality.
Yeah, the tree of life and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil.
That's the only difference between human beings and God, according to Genesis.
So now it is.
Yeah. If, therefore, those alive do not really enter through these narrow and vain things, they will be unable to attain the things stored up for them.
So unless you go through the suffering, you won't receive your lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's part of life.
Why then do you agitate yourself, although you are perishable? Why do you torment yourself, although you are mortal? Why don't you think about what is to come rather than what now is? That's the end of that section.
Yeah,
Now-
we got some very exciting sections coming up.
It's
Yes.
a good point so far.
So the divining response to Esdras' prayer came through the medium of the interpreting angel bearing the divine word. The form taken by the revelation is common in both Jewish literature and the New Testament.
Yeah, that happens a lot. Like, I think at this point I've settled on angels just being mouthpieces of God, just extensions of God.
Yeah.
Fingers and toes.
Yeah, basically, that can talk.
Well, you'd expect
Even
a
though-
divine being's fingers and toes to be pretty impressive.
Right, yeah, I guess.
Even though in different books they're definitely not. So if we look at like First Enoch,
Yeah, or Jubilees.
yeah,
They act
or
different, yeah.
the Alphabet of Ben Sira
Yeah.
with the Lilith story, those angels were not mouthpieces of God.
Yeah, but also that one is a parody. But yeah, the other ones that we mentioned, yes.
Yes. So both parables used here have the same thrust and purpose. The elements are a spacious, limitless place, the narrow, treacherous way to get it, and the desire to reach the sea or the city. Specifically stressed are the spacious place and the narrow way. The end is taken generally to be desirable. The way to reach it is the problem,
Yeah.
one which gave all theologians a great deal of difficulty. The author's thought here expressed is remarkably similar to that of Robert G. Ingersoll. Life is a narrow veil between the cold and barren peaks of two eternities. We strive in vain to look beyond the heights. We cry aloud, and the only answer is the echo of our wailing cry. From the voiceless lips of the unreplying dead, there come no word, but in the night of death, hope sees a star, and listening love can hear the rustle of a wing. That's from an oration delivered at the funeral of
Sounds
his
like
brother.
a George Bush quote almost.
Almost. Where wings take dream.
Yeah, so as Rossler observed, the transgression of Adam was followed by withdrawal of salvation from the world and transferred to the future coming age. The ways of the world are awful.
Yeah, we're going to hear a lot more about the coming age in these following sections.
So he also notes that apocalyptists had lost faith in this world, which they believed would soon pass away. They concentrated on the future world where wrongs would be absent and where the righteous would enjoy blessings intended for them from the beginning. So
Yeah, and that
those end is nigh people.
Yeah, that mentality has stuck around, to say the least.
Yeah. So now we're in a new section, starting with verse 17. I responded as follows. Lord, Lord, now you have decreed in your law that the just will inherit these things, but that the wicked will perish. The just, therefore, can bear with the narrow contingencies because they have hope for the spacious circumstances. But those who have behaved wickedly endure the narrow contingencies and yet will not see the spacious circumstances.
Ah, there you go. Okay.
There you go. He said to me, You are not a judge superior to God, nor more discriminating than the Most High. Let the many who exist perish rather than that the law of God which has been communicated to them be slighted. For God has solemnly commanded those coming into the world when they came what to do to live and what course to take to avoid being punished. But they remained unconvinced and resisted him. They invented deceitful ideas for themselves. They contrived devious tricks for themselves. They even denied the existence of the Most High, and they did not acknowledge his ways. They scorned his law. They disavowed his covenants. They had no faith in his commandments, and they did not accomplish his work. Hence, Ezra, emptiness to the empty, fullness to the full. That's the end of that section.
Yeah, so I think we're sinners.
Oh, no.
Oh, man. What are we going to do about that one?
Nothing.
Nothing. We're not going to do anything about that. So I guess God doesn't like atheists.
No.
Not really.
See, no. If someone, if a Christian came up to me quoting Second Esdras about God not liking atheists, then that'd be fine.
Well, the
But
fool
if-
has said in his heart there is no God.
Yeah. We did a whole discussion on that.
Yeah, we did.
It's not that he doesn't like atheists. It's that the people who think he doesn't like atheists quote the wrong thing.
Yeah, they specifically take it out of context.
Right.
But he definitely doesn't like atheists.
Yeah, he definitely doesn't.
Right.
Quote the
Just
thing
doesn't
where
say
he
that
says
there.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's continue. For indeed, the time is coming when the signs about which I have told you earlier will occur. The invisible city will appear, and the land which is now hidden will be made manifest.
Yes, so the invisible city and the hidden country are mysterious terms, as mysterious as is the whole of the writing, and they, in some sense, refer to Jerusalem, the heavenly Jerusalem, the land of Israel, and Messianic times.
Yeah, I'm trying. All he says in the textual note is that the city is Jerusalem. Says may.
My guess here is that this is the place that they're having a very hard time getting to, hence like invisible and hidden.
This is the open space.
Yeah,
You can't see it.
not yet.
Not yet.
John Cena's seen it.
Yeah.
Well-
John Cena and this hidden country exist in the same universe.
Yeah, that's where he is most of the time.
Yeah. They're talking about Kunlun.
Uh-huh.
And everyone who has been delivered from the evils mentioned before will see my wonders. For my son Jesus, together with those who are with him, will be revealed, and he will bring joy for 400 years to those who have been spared.
For 400 years. So yeah, let's talk about this whole section, shall we?
Well, hold on. There's 2 more verses in this section.
Okay, sure.
So then after those years, my son, Christ, will die, as will all who have human breath. And the world will return to primordial silence for 7 days, just as it was at the very beginning. Thus, nobody will remain.
See, I don't remember that part being in the gospel.
Couldn't. You weren't there for it.
But so the title "My Son the Messiah" in Latin is surprising for the time of writing. So that's in the Latin. My Son the Messiah. There are strong reasons to think that the Latin reading here, son, is the result of Christian translators' rendering of the Greek word, which regularly means servant or child. I think that would be, there are a few ones. There is paida, there's paidon, there's pais, there are a few. If the original Hebrew term were son, the occurrence would surely make forth Ezra an exceptional document. Quote, Son of God is not a regular title for the messianic figure in the Hebrew Bible. The activity of the Messiah here is quite limited. He rejoices with those who have survived the 400 years, and then he dies. The idea of the death of the Messiah is quite a surprise. Only one Jewish writing of this time can be interpreted as expecting the Messiah's death, and that is the second apocalypse of Baruch, apparently.
Yeah. So
the length, I'm going to finish this section here. The length of the reign of the messianic figure is specified here as 400 years. This number of years of rejoicing, perhaps, is meant to counterbalance the 400 years of oppression that Israel experienced in bondage in Egypt.
So first, I'm going to have you open up a Bible.
Okay. I've never done that. I've never opened up a Bible in my life.
Myers does note that my son Jesus is a Christian alteration for my Messiah.
So that sounds about right.
For the 400 years, Gunkel thinks this is a combination of Psalm 90, verse 15.
Okay.
So check out Psalm 90, verse 15.
Okay.
And then we'll get to the rest of the combination.
All right. So Psalm 90, verse 15. Yes, here it is. Make us glad for as many days as you have afflicted us, and as for as many years as we have seen evil.
And Genesis 15:13.
Genesis 15:13.
That's
That's coming up, and yes, it is early. 15:13. Then the Lord said to Abram, "Know for certain that your offspring will be sojourners in a land that is not theirs, and will be servants there, and they will be afflicted for 400 years." So yeah, putting those two together would make it you'd be having a good time for 400 years.
Now check Revelation 20, verse 4.
You got it.
Because it speaks of Christ's interregnum as lasting 1,000 years.
Yeah, 1,000 years has been quoted a lot at me.
Mm-hmm.
You said 20 verse 4?
Yes.
So that's near the end there. Then I saw thrones, and seated on them were those to whom the authority to judge was committed. Also I saw the souls of those who had been beheaded for the testimony of Jesus and for the word of God, and for those who had not worshipped the beast or its image, and had not received its mark on their foreheads or their hands. They came to life and reigned with Christ for 1,000 years.
Mm-hmm. Now, 2 Baruch, we don't have it
No,
here.
I don't think so.
Chapter 40, verse 3 says it's indefinite. So there are differing ideas about this. Also, on this primordial silence, obviously this is referring to the way things were prior to the word.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a...
It's a new start.
Yes. Now, there's a parallel in the Gilgamesh epic, where there is silence after the flood. This occurs on tablet 11, line 132.
Interesting.
Yep. Now, there's more commentary rather than textual commentary here. He says, some scholars regard this passage in the following one as belonging to the redactor of the book, because they supposedly introduce a subject extraneous to the argument pursued in the vision. However, on closer inspection, these passages appear to accentuate the theme of the preceding. Judgment is decreed for those who reject the law. Emptiness to the empty. One would expect something of the messianic theme to be injected here, whatever course its particular direction may take. Here it takes the form of an interregnum between the present period and the final judgment, and partakes of a conception somewhat analogous to Jewish thought expressed in the second Isaiah, the period of restoration. It is, of course, presented in more colorful apocalyptic terms and therefore more specific in its descriptives, the 400 years and the death of the Messiah. The Messianic age is thus a harbinger of the splendor and wonder of the coming world and of the universal judgment of this world. The appearance of the invisible city sounds as if the old city lay in ruins. All those who have succeeded in escaping the convulsions connected with the signs will enjoy the wonders of the limited Messianic age. At the end of that age, the Messiah and all human beings will die. The world will assume its primordial character. Nobody will remain. Only then will the resurrection and the final judgment take place. As the passage now stands, Christian tampering can be detected from the insertion of Jesus and in verse 28 and Son in verses 28 and 29. So,
yeah, and talking about, speaking of insertions, there's going to be another one coming up very shortly.
All right. Now we're in verse 31.
Or maybe not insertion, an omission, but still.
Then after the 7 days, the world that is not yet awake will be aroused, and what is corruptible will pass away. The earth will give up those asleep on it. The dust will let go of those who repose in it, and the storehouses will give up the souls entrusted to them. The Most High will appear on the judgment seat. Then the end will come, and compassion will vanish. Pity will cease, and forbearance will be drawn.
Yeah, so
Only judgment will remain, truth will stand, and faith regain strength. Reward will follow, and recompense appear. Good deeds will awake. The pit of torment will appear, and evil ones will sleep no more. And opposite it will be the place of rest. The ovens of Gehenna will appear, and opposite it the paradise of joy. Then the Most High will say to the excited nations, consider and know those whom you denied, or whom you have not served, or what faithfulness you have spurned. Look hither and yon. Here is joy and repose. There is fire and torment. So
yeah, okay. So there's a good bit we should cover. So everything, or the part that you read off that was before verse 36. Yeah, so that, fairly straightforward, like there's the dead will return kind of thing is what they're expecting there, which has already been expected throughout, good chunk of the stuff we've read in the Bible. And then further, starting at verse 36 through verse 105, actually. So a really good chunk of this work. There's a good bit of commentary on this. So first of all, one of the translations there, like Pit of Torment has been translated as, not Pit of Torment, the second thing, like the parallel to it. It has been translated as Hell.
Yes, it has been translated as place of torment, lake of fire, bottomless pit, abyss of fire, eternal fire, and just tormented.
Yeah, so there's hell is one of the translations for this.
So it comes later though. It's like after the world ends, hell shows up, according to this.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you use that translation, yes. So the reader, and this is the part that I wanted to touch on. So the reader may notice that at this verse 36, a double verse numbering in the REB, that's a biblical translation, begins to appear. This numbering difference results from the fact that in most of the Latin manuscripts of 2nd Esdras, chapter 7, verses 36 through 105 do not appear. These verses seem to have been excised in an early Latin manuscript, from which most copies were made, but they survive in 2 Latin manuscripts and in the copies in the Eastern languages. The reason for omitting these verses was probably that they appeared to be too pessimistic about the number of those to be saved and about the fate of the wicked, specifically whether they can be helped by another's prayer for them after a death. So, the very long section we're in, throughout it, we are going to learn a little bit more about the pessimistic nature, I suppose, of it. And I guess we'll see why these things were omitted in some manuscripts.
Now, let's also note that the ovens of Gehenna could be the mouth of Gehenna. In Pirkei Avot, Gehenna is referred to as the pit of destruction. For the paradise of joy,
I mean they're paralleling this new world with the horrible pit of torment. So
pretty wild stuff. But these things he will say to them on the judgment day. It will be like this. It has neither sun nor moon nor stars, nor cloud nor thunder nor lightning, nor wind nor water nor air, nor darkness nor evening, nor morning nor summer nor spring, nor heat nor winter, nor frost nor cold, nor hail nor rain nor dew, nor moon nor night, nor dawn, nor brightness, nor clearness, nor light, except for the splendorous brightness of the Most High, whereby all will be able to see what is appointed for them to see.
Yeah, so very few things will be saved, and this idea is a common thought in apocalyptic mentality.
Mm-hmm. You can also see this kind of same imagery pop up in Buddhist and Hindu scripts.
Also, places in the New Testament. I'll pull those up.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, in the Buddhist and Hindu scripts, they'll have lists like this for bodily senses. They'll be like no mind, no sight.
Yeah, I think I covered that in my class on it.
Mm-hmm. Which is a little different because this is more listing off like nature, right? I'm just saying that it has a similar form. Anyways, let me just finish this section. The time period will be, as it were, a week of years. This is my judgment and its disposition. But to you alone have I revealed these things.
So 7 years.
Yes, a week of years. Check Daniel 9:24.
Yeah, this is more of that. We covered this when we were reading Jubilees as well.
Mm-hmm. It says here, the world was created in a week, from which grew the tradition underlying the passage. Primordial time and that of the end are like in duration. So that's that section. Now let me see if there's commentary on this section. It's short commentary here. Here the writer explains his idea of what will take place after this world has been put to silence for 7 days. First, there will be a general resurrection, followed by the final judgment. The Most High on his judgment seat will be absolutely impartial without favoritism. The criteria are truth and faithfulness or good deeds. Evil deeds cannot be hidden, and they will form the basis for the rejection of their perpetrators. The respective ends of both are now visible. The one, joy and repose, the other, fire and torment. Apparently the same state or condition will prevail as before the creation of the world. So, what did you want to read out?
The references there to this, the idea that most things will disappear, or they won't be saved. So it pops up in Matthew 7:14 and 22:14. Moreover, the wicked, who are wicked because of the evil inclination in human beings. It just mentions the separation from the just in the world to come.
All right. I replied, I said then, Lord, and I say now, fortunate are those who now present and observe the precepts laid down by you. But concerning those for whom my prayer was offered, who of those now present is there who has not sinned, or who of those born is there who has not violated your covenant? Now I see that the world to come will serve to bring joy to the few, but torment to the many. The evil heart in us has grown. That has alienated us from them and has driven us into corruption. It has brought to our attention the ways of death, pointed out to us the paths of perdition, and took us far away from life. And that not merely a few, but just about all who were created. He responded to me as follows. Listen to me, that I may teach you and set you right again. Because of this, the Most High made not one world, but two.
Yeah.
Ooh, 2 worlds. I wonder if there's commentary on that.
The only commentary in here on that is, so God made 2 worlds, and in the next world, the just will be segregated from the wicked. That's all that it mentions.
It's
to emphasize the value of the few who are to be saved, the author creates a parable about the metals of the earth, and I'm sure that's what we're going to be getting into.
The paths of perdition are Abaddon in Syriac.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yes. So the 2-world conception, this world being the one leading into the world to come, is spoken about elsewhere in the book. So that's all it says about it. Let me see. Yeah, that's about all. Okay, so 2 worlds. Inasmuch as you said that the just are not many but few, and that assuredly the wicked are numerous, listen to this. If you should have just very few precious stones, would you now add to them lead and clay? Lord, I said, how can that be? He said to me, moreover, inquire of the earth, and she will tell you. Speak to her, and she will enlighten you. You must say to her, you yield gold, silver, copper, as well as iron, lead, and clay. But silver is more abundant than gold, copper than silver, iron than copper, lead than iron, and clay than lead. Decide, therefore, for yourself, which are more valuable and desirable, what is abundant or what is found to be scarce.
I feel like this is not the best way to classify people.
Yeah, no.
No. No. But that is economics. Supply and demand.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
I said, Lord, Lord, what is plentiful is less valuable. What is rare is more costly. So if there were a lot of just people, right?
Yeah.
Then they would be less valuable.
Yes.
And God wouldn't want them.
No, he would not. He would want the more valuable, wicked people.
Yeah. He responded to me as follows. Compare for yourself now what you have reflected upon. For he who possesses what is hard to come by rejoices more than he who has what is plentiful. So it is with my promised judgment, because I will rejoice over the few who will be saved, inasmuch as they're the ones who confirm my glory now, and by whom my name is even now named. I will not lament over the multitude of those who are lost. They are the ones who even now are made like vapor, regarded as smoke. Just like flames, they were kindled, blazed up, and have gone out. Now, that's the end of that section.
So the comparison of the wicked with transitory things such as vapor, flame, or smoke should not give the impression that they will. Okay. Yeah, I didn't think. So they're like, it shouldn't be the expression that they will escape the torments. I didn't think that's what they were going for. Such comparisons are meant simply to show that the wicked to be of little value. Yeah, and they are fleeting. They just kind of fade away.
Yeah, there's not really any commentary that goes beyond what's just said in the verses. So.
Yeah.
All right, let's continue. I replied as follows. O earth, what you have given birth to! If reason has been made out of dust, just as other creatures, it would have been better if the dust itself had not been born, so that reason might not have been produced from it. And on reason here, they note both reason and Adam came from the same source, the earth. The question is what is meant by the Latin sensus. The word in this verse occurs only in Latin and Syriac. In the next verse, the Ethiopic substituted heart, while Aramaic has reflection, reason, understanding, twice in its addition to verse 63. The different renderings indicate the uncertainty of correct interpretation.
Yeah, I could. Yeah, I see that.
So there's other ones like understanding, intelligence, mind.
Yeah, so whatever word was original there, people had a problem interpreting it.
Now pull up Romans 8:22.
Will do. I'm just going to pull out my handy-dandy Bible.
Yeah, because it says that there is a parallel there, but it doesn't really say anything about it.
All right, Romans 8:22. For we know that the whole creation has been groaning together in the pains of childbirth until now.
So it's an infant universe.
And that's 8:22.
Well, I don't really see the parallel there, but
I kind of do. Where,
I mean,
we're in a phase that'll then grow into another phase and then be born into a new world. Kind of. I mean, that's what I'm going for.
Yeah,
anyway.
well, language is such that you can relate anything to anything.
Yeah, that is true. That's how so many so many people who don't know what they're talking about can get away with things just by simple words that kind of sound alike, like the guy who made Zeitgeist. And I was listening to this. Oh my God. Okay. I was listening to this.
Wisconsin.
Yeah, Wisconsin. I was listening to a debate between a normal person and a flat earther. And the flat earther was making this weird argument about how everything goes back to like the atom, and how the universe and the earth is like an atom in the solar system. And then he starts linking things like, you know, the god Atum. And then he's talking about Adam as from the Bible, and these things sound so similar. I'm like, those are a whole bunch of different languages. Like, yeah, he's just missing the mark entirely. And I mean, I stopped listening during his section. I was like, this is infuriating. I can't actually listen to this. But yeah, it's that kind of bullshittery.
I mean, there is, you know, such thing as languages influencing each other.
Yes, absolutely.
Like I think
but just because something sounds similar doesn't mean they're all related.
Right. But I think that
Septon phylogeny.
what was it? The Babylonian tradition had Adapa or Adamu or something like that.
I don't know.
I don't really recall. There were a lot of people who drew parallels with Adam from that.
Sure.
Which might be a little better than drawing parallels between atoms and Adam.
Yeah, so you have atoms, like, you know, the fucking particle from the Greek, and then you have atum from Egypt, and then you have Adam from Hebrew, and it's just like, oh, look, it's all therefore flat Earth.
The term Adam was never mind.
So I might give a little more credence to the Greek-Egypt connection, because a lot of highly educated Greeks were sent to Egypt for education in their early childhood. Like Thales was sent to Egypt for his education. So there might be some linguistic connection there, but I'm pretty sure the atomists were pretty far down the line from there. Like there's a few hundred years at least separating Thales from the Greek atomists. So,
and I mean, furthermore, again, just because the words sound kind of similar,
right,
doesn't mean there's a necessary link between them.
Right. Anyways, let's continue. Nevertheless, reason grows up with us, and so we are tormented because we are aware of perishing. Let the human race lament. The beasts of the field rejoice. Let all who are born lament. Quadrupeds and cattle rejoice.
Very specific.
Very interesting.
Yeah. They are far better off than we, because they do not expect judgment and are unaware of torment or salvation in turn to promise them after death. For what advantage is there to us to be kept alive, only to be severely tormented? All who are born are entangled in iniquities, full of sins, and laden with transgressions.
Uh-oh.
So if after death we should not come into judgment, it might have been much better for us. He replied to me as follows. When the Most High made the world and Adam and all his descendants, he first ordained judgment and matters pertaining to judgment. Now, therefore, take cognizance of your own words. You declared that reason grows up with us. Hence, those who dwell on the earth will incur torment, because though they possessed reason, they committed iniquity. And though they received the commandments, they did not observe them. And though they accepted the law, they circumvented what they accepted. So what will they have to say at judgment? Or how will they reply in the last times? How long the Most High has exercised patience with those who live in the world, not on account of them, but because of the times he has predetermined.
Well, I wonder what Ezekiel would have to say about that.
I wonder. So let's see. There's.
What verse did you just finish?
I just finished verse 74.
74. Okay.
Let's see. Now, on when he first ordained judgment, i.e., the judgment has been predetermined, since in preparation for it, paradise and Gehenna were created before the world, according to rabbinic theology. The inevitability of judgment is due to the above noted entanglements of sin. So that's
So these so Gehenna, we talked about it a whole bunch of times, would have been an actual valley in the region of Israel.
right.
The place where, some of the kings passed their children through the fire and stuff like that. So that would have been Gehenna, right? But I guess at some point it gained this spiritual context to it, I guess, the spiritual meaning, to where it's basically like a pseudo hell.
Yeah.
So it's
And it's even translated as hell by some people.
yeah, exactly. So I would yeah, I mean, whatever God's gonna do with all the and what they're gonna do as well looks like it's just set in stone.
Yeah. So
And then it's interesting that the theology for the rabbis as well was that they already existed. And I don't know what those same rabbis would have thought about the Gehenna in Kings, for example.
it's a reference to hell.
That the rabbis totally just, it's got to be hell.
Even though there is no hell in Judaism.
Right, exactly.
Right. I mean, even in modern Judaism, there's no hell.
Yeah.
There's no heaven either. You die, then you rise in the judgment day.
Yeah, that's exactly how it is.
Yep. Now, Christians are all like, well, let's take all this Greek stuff about Hades and throw it in there.
Yeah, and that
made it
gets
more popular.
that gets expanded upon real quick.
Yeah. So, a little more than halfway through this chapter.
Yeah.
Hey, if you're enjoying the stream so far, give it a like, share it with your friends, family, neighbors.
Yeah, we're powering through this.
Yep.
But we do have interesting topics today.
Yep. I responded as follows: If you please, Lord, also make this clear to your servant, whether after death or when each one of us has to surrender his soul, we will really be kept in repose until those times come when you are to renew the creation, or whether we will be tormented immediately.
Yeah, so the dominant thought in the next section is the contrast between the faithful and the wicked during the interim period of existence before judgment. So that would make sense, right? So you die, but judgment has not come yet, so there's no rising. There's Gehenna hasn't popped up yet, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're kind of left in a limbo.
Yeah.
So to speak. Or purgatory, maybe. I don't know, depending on interpretation. So the author spells out the 7 ways of existence or reasons for the misery of those who are destined for punishment because of their sinfulness. So that's what we're going to get into.
All right. He replied to me as follows: I'll show you this too, but you must not get entangled with scorners, nor reckon yourself with those who are tormented. For indeed, you have a treasure of works stored up with the Most High, but it will not be revealed to you until the last times. For the conception of death is this: when the final sentence of death has emerged from the Most High that man is to die, when the spirit withdraws from the body to return again to him who gave it, it first of all entreats the glory of the Most High. If it should be one of those who scorned, who did not adhere to the ways of the Most High, who held his law in contempt, or who hated those who feared God, such spirits will not enter habitations, but will roam around henceforth in torment, ever unhappy and sad in 7 ways.
So here are the 7 ways that they will suffer?
Yes.
All right.
We're about to get into them.
7 dead sufferings,
Yep.
not deadly sins.
The first way, because they have spurned the law of the Most High. The second way, because now they are unable truly to repent that they may live. The third way, they will see the reward deposited for those who were faithful to the covenants of the Most High. The fourth way, they will contemplate the torment deposited for themselves in the last times. The fifth way, they will see the habitations of others guarded by angels in complete freedom from disturbance. The sixth way, they will see how immediately some of them will pass over into torment. The seventh way, which is worse than all the above mentioned ways, because they will languish in confusion, they will be consumed in shame, and they will pine away in fears when they see the glory of the Most High, before whom they sinned while living, and before whom they are to be judged in the last times.
So the ways can basically be boiled down to you'll see how well everyone else is doing, and you will be sad that that's not you.
Mm-hmm.
Then and also, I guess their punishment is. So I guess it kind of sounds like them not following God, this specific God, is a punishment in and of itself. I think those were like the first two, right?
Mm-hmm.
Effectively.
Well, they get to see how the ones who do follow God are rewarded, and
Right.
that they don't get that, and they're mad salty about it.
Yeah, they're going to be salty for the rest of their life, basically.
Eternity.
Sorry, not the rest of their life. The rest of their non-life.
Yeah. Maybe they'll get like summoned by a witch of Endor or something.
Maybe
and
it could
that'll
happen.
be the highlight of their unlife.
Yeah, it could happen.
Yep. For those, on the other hand, who have adhered to the ways of the Most High, this order obtains when they are to be separated from this crumbling vessel. While they remained in it, they served the Most High diligently and encountered danger every hour in order to observe perfectly the law of the lawgiver. This, then, is the direction concerning them. In the first place, they will view with great joy the glory of him who receives them, for they will come to repose in 7 orders. The first order, that they have with great diligence done their utmost to overcome the evil thought molded with them, that it might not mislead them from life to death. Why would God make them with evil thought molded into them? That is
Good question.
irrational.
So that most of them could be evil, so that he could only get the gems when he was done with the world.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Here's oh, I know, never mind. I thought he was going to get into like an explanation of that a little bit more. He did not. He just mentions that the list begins with the joy that results from resisting the evil impulse.
Oh, great. The second order, that they might see the entanglements in which the souls of the wicked roam about and the punishment that is in store for them. So they're happy about seeing others suffer.
Yes.
Great. The third order, they see the witness that he who made them bore to them, that while alive they observed the law which was entrusted to them. The fourth order, they comprehend the rest which, gathered in their storehouses, they now enjoy in complete freedom from disturbance, guarded by angels, and the glory in store for them in their last times. Why would they need to be guarded by angels? What are they being guarded from?
That's a very good question, because I assume that the sinful ones can't really get to them, or maybe they can. If they can, then these angels make sense. But otherwise, that's a very good. Maybe there are some primordial forces in this theology that we're dealing with. I don't know.
Check Luke 16:26.
All right. So yeah, this is the first time an author in the biblical tradition has attempted a nuanced description of the afterlife, and in this sequence, existence after death and before the resurrection and final judgment. Yeah. So this is, this is very interesting stuff that we're looking at here. What's the verse you just listed?
That
Luke?
The Luke verse.
Yeah.
That is. Let me just flip to it. What was the verse that I just read? Okay. Luke 16:26.
16:26. Okay, you got it. All right, so Luke 16:26. And besides all this, between us and you, a great chasm has been fixed, in order that those who would pass from here to you may not be able, and none may cross from there to us. All right. That's the parallel.
Hey, today's the anniversary of Custer's defeat at the Battle of Little Bighorn.
Oh, wow. Big day.
Yeah.
Actually, though.
Yeah.
All right. So what verse did you end there? That was...
So let's continue.
Okay.
The fifth order. They rejoice because now they have escaped the corruptible and will have the future as an inheritance, but in addition, they will see the narrowness and difficulties from which they have been extricated, and the expanse they are to receive in joy and immortality. The sixth order. When it is revealed to them how their face is to shine like the sun, and how they are to be like the light of the stars, no longer corruptible. The seventh order, which is superior to all those mentioned above, because they will rejoice with assurance, because they will believe without confusion, and they will be genuinely happy, for they make haste to see the face of him whom they served while living, and from whom they are to receive the reward of glory.
So they finally get to see God.
Yeah.
Dang.
Wow. That's pretty big.
And in addition to that, so these 7 orders that they get are parallel to the 7 punishments that the others get.
Yeah.
And it's kind of repetitious because a lot of it is like, well, they'll be happy because they served God.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, yeah, I get it.
You get some celestial dopamine forced into your brain because you did a good job.
As is tradition.
Yep. Magic pills he gives them. Okay. So they get to see God. This is the order of the just souls pointed out above, and of the previously mentioned ways of torment, which those who failed to observe will suffer from now on. I responded as follows. Will therefore time be given to the souls after they are separated from the body to see what you have told me about? He said to me, they will be at liberty for 7 days, to see during the 7 days the things spoken of above, and afterward they shall be gathered into their habitations. I find it interesting to say the things spoken of above as if it's like writing on a piece of paper. Like, see the argument noted above.
Yeah. It does sound like that.
I wonder if there's a note.
Well, okay, so, unfortunately, we're not even at that part yet. Damn.
So the 7 days is probably based on an old tradition, especially
it's completeness, right?
Book of Adam and Eve, which warns against mourning for more than 6 days, because on the 7th day the departed is the subject of the rejoicing of God and angels.
Ah, okay. It's work.
Yeah. So that is the end of that section.
What verse did you end on?
I ended on verse 100. Well, I finished verse 101.
Okay.
And I'm looking.
Looks like there's a question coming up.
Mm-hmm. Nothing is said about the method by which all souls are finally judged. 2 Baruch 30 points to the resurrection of all the dead as a prelude to the final judgment. So that'll happen in the story, I guess.
Yeah, it has.
When we get to 2 Baruch, when we finish 1 Baruch.
Yeah, and also we talked about the resurrection of these people before the judgment.
Yes. Then I replied as follows. If you please, also make clear to me, your servant, if perchance on the day of judgment the just will be able to intercede for the wicked, or to plead with the Most High on their behalf. Fathers for sons, or children for parents, or brothers for brothers, relatives for the next of kin, and friends for those dearest to them.
Can you pray for them?
He answered as follows. Yes, I will grant you this favor and make it clear to you. The day of judgment is decisive, making clear to all the seal of truth. Just as now a father cannot commission a son or a son a father, or a master a slave, or a friend, one dearest to him, to be sick for him, or to sleep, or to eat, or to be restored to health, so nobody can pray for another, for all will bear each then his own injustice or justice. I replied as follows. How is it then that we find that first Abraham interceded for the Sodomites, Moses in behalf of the fathers who sinned in the desert, Joshua after him for Israel in the days of Achan, Samuel in the days of Saul, David on account of the plague,
This should be easy.
Solomon on behalf of those who were in the sanctuary, Elijah for those who received rain and for the dead that he might live, and Hezekiah for the people in the days of Sennacherib, as well as many others for many more. If now, therefore, when corruption has increased and injustice has multiplied, the just have prayed for the wicked, why can't it be so then? He responded to me as follows. The present world is not the end, and its glory is transitory. Hence, those who were strong and have prayed for the weak. But the day of judgment will mark the end of this time and the beginning of immortal time to come, in which corruption has come to an end, intemperance has been abolished, faithlessness has been cut off, but justice has grown up and truth has arisen.
Yeah, so this seemingly harsh position is in contradiction to 2 Maccabees 12:44 through 46, where prayer for the dead is invoked as an efficacious in freeing the dead from their sins. And if we feel like reading that, we do have those here. No, wait, we don't. Those are in my place. Damn.
The commentary says its glory. The Syriac has the glory of God, which is probably right. In that case, the reference is to the Shekinah. For the significance of the presence of the Shekinah and the conditions of its withdrawal.
Yeah, so if I remember properly, the Shekinah was a feminine divine force, almost like it's not a consort, I don't think. But I think it's something like that, if I remember properly.
Mm.
I know, who talks about her a lot, Margaret Baker.
We should read more Margaret Baker.
Also,
Okay.
Raphael Patai, and I have a lot of issues with his work too.
Then no one will be able to have compassion for him who is convicted in judgment or cast down to him who is victorious. No compassion. Compassion not allowed.
Not allowed. Get out of here.
Yeah, so let's see this commentary. Our author here reaches the acme of individualism. National, racial, institutional distinctions are wiped out. The individual soul stands in all its nakedness before the judge, and no one can change his situation now. Box's comment is to the point. It would appear from the emphatic way in which the present order lasts that the apocalypse is aiming at some counter-doctrine of intercession for the dead. Certainly no room seems to be left in his theology for prayers for the dead. The eternal destiny of the soul is fixed by the course of the earthly life. Those who died enter immediately upon an existence of bliss or woe, but which anticipates the final doom of judgment, and this doom, according to our present passage, is fixed and unalterable.
Yeah, so they're just waiting for that final judgment.
Yes.
Let's continue.
Let's continue. Verse 116. I answered as follows. This is my first and last comment, then. It would have been better for the earth not to have generated Adam, or when it did generate him, at least to have constrained him not to sin. What good is it for any of us to live in grief now and with the expectation of punishment after death? Oh, Adam, what have you done? Although you alone sinned, the fall was not yours alone, but ours too, who descended from you.
So
there was part of this apocalypse earlier where they did the apocalypse thing where they list off the history.
Mhm.
And when they did so, they didn't mention any of the matriarchs, only the patriarchs.
Yeah.
I think maybe that is what's carrying over here with this Adam stuff, where they say he alone sinned.
Yeah.
And it might also be why they reference the sin of Adam.
Yeah.
So that's my guess, is that this dude's like a huge misogynist or something, and he just hates women and doesn't want to mention any of them.
It does sound like that. Although you would think that, since Eve sinned, then he would be like totally cool with talking about how much of a bitch she was or something like that.
Yeah, but he wouldn't profane his mouth by speaking of a woman.
That is another possibility.
But yeah, it is very... It's like they completely ignore the existence of any of the women in any of these stories.
Yeah. Especially because, with the phrasing there, like alone.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's just a translation thing or what it is. But either way.
I'm going to check.
He's effectively asking, like, if we have this original sin, then why, like, it's better not to be born, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that sounds a lot like it's very Jobian or Jobish. I don't know, Jobian. We'll go with that.
Yeah, it doesn't say anything about this Adam alone thing. It just says that this is like Job 3 and Jeremiah 20:18.
Right, yeah.
Which, sure, but it seems like an important point. What benefit is it for us that an immortal time has been promised to us when, in fact, we have done death-dealing works, that perpetual hope has been held out for us when, in fact, we have acted in utter futility, that sound and secure habitations have been prepared for us when, in fact, we have lived so scandalously, that the glory of the Most High is to protect those who have lived virtuously, though we have conducted ourselves most impiously, that paradise, whose incorruptible fruit has been preserved for us, and in which our abundance and healing will appear, but which we, in fact, cannot enter because we have lived in unacceptable ways, and that the faces of those who have exercised self-restraint shine more brilliantly than the stars, though, in fact, our faces will be blacker than the darkness of night. For during our lifetime, when we committed sin, we did not realize what we were to endure after death. He responded as follows: This is the purport of the struggle which man born on earth must wage. If he is defeated, he will suffer what you have said, but if he is victorious, he will receive what I say. For this is the way about which Moses, when he was yet alive, spoke to the people. He said, "Choose for yourself life that you live." However, they did not believe him, or the prophets after him, or me who have spoken to them.
Yeah, and that's a reference to Deuteronomy 30:20.
Mm-hmm. Hence, there may not be so much sorrow in their destruction as there will be joy over the salvation of those who have believed. Whew. Okay, we're getting into the next section now. I'm just going to check and see if there's any relevant commentary until this point.
Yeah, so I mean the whole thing is like, yes, you were born into this ridiculous world where there's so much evil around you and you can't really do much about that, but you can be good in spite of that, which I do agree with. But perhaps not on what being good necessarily means all the time in these cases.
Mm-hmm. So if he's defeated, it means evil inclination getting the upper hand.
Yeah.
If he's victorious,
You're in a battle with evil itself.
check Sirach 15:14 through 17. God from the beginning created man and put him in the hand of his despoiler and gave him into the hand of his inclination. If you desire to do so, you can keep his commandment, and it is understanding to do his delight. If you have confidence in him, you will live. Poured out before you are fire and water. Stretch out your hand for what you desire. Before man are life and death, and what he desires will be given to him. So, that's from Sirach. We already read Sirach.
Yeah, we did.
Okay, last section of this
Monster.
ridiculously long chapter. I replied as follows. I know, Lord, that the Most High is now referred to as the Merciful One because he has compassion for those who have not yet come into the world, the Gracious One because he is gracious to those who return to his law, the Long-Suffering One because he manifests patience for those who have sinned inasmuch as they are his creatures, the Generous One because he certainly prefers to give rather than to exact, the One of many mercies because he multiplies evermore his mercies for those of the present, the past, and the future. For if he had not multiplied them, the world, together with those who live in it, could not continue. The giver, for if he would not give out his goodness so that those who committed iniquities could be relieved of their iniquities, the 10,000th part of mankind would be unable to live. And the judge, for if he did not pardon those who were created by his word and annul their multitudinous offenses, there would doubtless be left only a very few of the innumerable multitude. So,
Well, first things first, he already said that there were going to be a few. So,
Ta-da.
yeah. Furthermore, so Ezra is, of course, here reflecting on the goodness and mercy of God. The list of titles for God is taken from Exodus 34, 6 through 7, with little variation. The list of divine attributes appears in various places in the Bible. For example, Joel 2:13 and Jonah 4:2. The exegesis of these verses from Exodus here is the only clear example in 4th Ezra of an attempt to exegete or explain in some detail a biblical passage.
you said Exodus 34.
Yes, Exodus 34, 6 through 7.
The Lord, compassionate and gracious God, slow to anger, abounding in kindness and good faith, keeping kindness for the 1,000th generation, bearing crime, trespass, and offense, yet he does not wholly acquit, reckoning the crimes of fathers with sons and sons of sons to the 3rd generation and the 4th. So,
Good amount of similarities, yeah.
yeah, even the 1,000th part, though here's the 10,000th.
Yeah.
That's the end of the chapter.
Is it? Oh, my God. Congratulations. And if you guys are enjoying the stream so far, make sure you drop a like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Share it around. You know what? We're talking about some pretty interesting things today. We're talking about like a fairly detailed discussion of not just the afterlife, but what it takes to get there, I suppose.
And
When it will
judgment.
come.
Yeah.
There is no afterlife until after judgment, according to this.
Well, the thing is, you do have an afterlife, but it's not
just waiting around.
the official
Yeah,
afterlife.
you're like a ghost.
Go to
Ish.
Sheol.
Yeah, you're in Sheol, but conscious in Sheol. Like, yeah, like the expression here of life, if you could call it that, after death, it's markedly different from everything else we've covered.
It's like a doctor's waiting room. You never would have guessed.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to go to the restroom.
Okay, you can do that. Yeah. So this is. I'll just take this. Why not? Maybe not. I'll take it. I don't know. I am currently looking for the beginning of the commentaries here, but luckily Ruben did mark this off. What a great guy. All right. So I'm actually just going to hop into the reading here. So, chapter 8. He responded to me as follows. The Most High made this world for the many, but the world to come for the few. Of course, the two worlds thing that we were talking about before. But let me tell you a parable, Ezra. Just as, should you inquire of the earth, and it would tell you it yields a large amount of clay from which earthen vessels are made, but little dust from which gold comes, so too is the way of the present world. So easy to make shit and hard to make good stuff. Many have been created, but few will be saved. Of course, talked about that as well. There is no real good commentary on that. Nothing that we haven't covered already, honestly. Doesn't look like it. All right. Continuing on here. So the section, or the title for this section, is Why Was Man Made to Live Such a Short Time? I don't know. Feels like forever. I replied as follows. Oh, my God. Why do they... Okay. Imbibe my soul perception. Feast my heart on discernment. For you entered the world involuntarily and are leaving it without your consent. Yeah, that is true. And my life now. Because only a short span of time has been allotted to you to live. O Lord above us, if you will grant permission to your servant, that we may pray before you, give us seed of heart and cultivation of perception, whence fruit may come, so that every mortal who bears the likeness of man can go on living. So that's interesting. Any mortal who bears the likeness of man. Let me just get the textual note here. Oh, okay. So it looks like, I think that's the right one. Yeah, okay. So the Latin there, instead of likeness, is locum, or place, possibly a misreading of Greek tupon, form or image. The Syriac has form or likeness as here. So we're on verse 7 now, by the way. Okay. For you are by yourself, and we are the one formation of your hands, just as you said. That's a weird verse. Yeah, so what is that verse? That's verse 7. I just said that.
I'm just going to point out that there's very little valuable commentary on chapter 8 in Eerdmans.
Okay, so
it's in here, but it's few and far between.
Okay, so you are by yourself. The cross-reference is Deuteronomy 4:35 and 6:4. There's Isaiah 43:11. There's some more in Isaiah. Formation of your hands. Of course, man was the direct production of the hand of God in Genesis. And then just as you said, is just referencing those verses. But that was a really weird verse. Really poorly phrased, I would say. Now, when you bring to life the body molded in the womb and provide it with members, your creation subsists in fire and water, and for 9 months your handiwork bears your creature which was formed in it. So that which shelters and that which is sheltered are both sheltered by your shelter. Amazing. When the womb...
That was incredible.
Yeah, when the womb discharges what has evolved in it, you have commanded...
Is that evolution?
Evolution, yeah, there we go. Yeah. When the womb discharges what has evolved in it, you have commanded that out of the members themselves, that is out of the breasts, milk, the fruits of the breasts, should be provided to nourish for a time what was fashioned. So that's a whole lot of words for nurse your child.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I thought I was inefficient when I was speaking.
Don't starve newborns. That's bad.
Hold on. That's a very controversial verse.
Yeah. You think so?
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, one would think that, oh, never mind. Doesn't matter. This is a ridiculous piece.
Afterward, you direct it with your mercy, nurture it with your justice, instruct it in your law, and temper it with your wisdom. Then you kill it. It's your creation, and restore it to life. It's your handiwork. Wow, that took a turn.
Whoa.
Like, I know that they're trying to draw an analogy here, but I think it falls apart right around there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a little much.
So that's verse 13. I'm going to see if I can find anything specifically on that. Wow, there isn't anything specifically on that, it looks like. No, there isn't. All right. What a weird way to all right, that's just I don't even know what to say.
Yep, moving on.
If therefore you can so readily do away with him who was molded with such great pains by your command, why then was he made? Oh, I see. Okay. So okay. So of course asking why even be born. He's like, well, you put so much work into this. You're not just going to kill it straight after. It'd be better that it lived, I guess. Better that you had it around in the first place. I don't know.
Yay.
I don't even know.
Go through all this work. What for?
No one knows.
Good question. Now let me emphasize that you know best about the totality of mankind. But about your people, I am dejected. I lament over your heritage. I sorrow because of Israel. And I am perturbed on account of the seed of Jacob.
Perturbed,
my bad.
Okay, that makes more sense.
I am perturbed on account of the seed of Jacob.
New t-shirt idea. Perturbed.
So I want to pray before you for myself and for them, because I see the faults of those who inhabit the earth, and I have heard about the swift judgment which is to come. Yeah, so he is he wants to help, but you can't do it when they're dead, I guess. So you have to do it now while they're on the earth. So listen to me, mark my words, and let me speak before you. Just keep going, man. This next section, starting at verse 20 here, Ezra's prayer for his people and the divine response.
So Ezra commences a magnificent prayer, beginning with the majesty of God and sweeping down to the lowliness and sinfulness of humanity. This prayer has a title, which shows that it sometimes functioned independently. Its power and beauty led to its being used in public worship. It was copied and arranged with other solemn hymns from the Bible in Latin in the Middle Ages.
Yeah, it mentions here the Apostolic Constitutions, its separate status in numerous manuscripts of the Vulgate and the Mozarabic liturgy, and its transmission in two recensions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's often entitled the Confession of Ezra, imitating the confessional prayer of Ezra 9 and 1st Esdras 8.
That's pretty much the only interesting bit of commentary. I mean, there's a little tiny bit more in Eerdmans, but on this chapter, that's pretty much it.
Okay. The beginning of the words of Ezra's prayer before he was taken up. No,
he gets taken up?
Well, I am going to check that right now. So, there's no substantial... Okay, so on that verse that we just read, or the part of that verse that we just read, there is no substantial variation in the Latin, Syriac, Gregorian, and Ethiopic texts.
Great.
On there, I guess. So it's not like it's... I'm seeing if there's something else about him being taken up, because that seems kind of important.
Yeah, it does.
And
who would think that the guy who's like, don't race mix, would be the guy that gets taken up?
there is nothing about him being taken up here, but those are the words that are used.
Well, shout out to Enoch.
Yeah.
Or, no, hold on. So it looks like up is like, in the translation here, it's supposed to be like understood or something. Because it's in...
elevated, like in knowledge.
Yeah, well, it's because aside from that, it says the beginning of the words of Ezra's prayer before he was taken. And they added in up. But yeah, I don't know the original language here. So I can't even begin.
Languages.
That too. So either way, he said, Lord, who lives forever, whose eyes are lifted up, whose dwelling places are in the air, whose throne is indiscernible, whose glory is incomprehensible, before whom angelic hosts stand with trembling, and at whose words they are converted to wind and fire, whose word is trustworthy, whose decrees are steadfast, whose orders are mighty, whose commands are fearful, whose glance dries up the depths, whose wrath makes mountains melt away, and whose truth abides forever. Listen, Lord, to the prayer of your servant. Lend an ear to the entreaty of your production. Give attention to my words. So long as I live, I must speak. And so long as I have discernment, I must be responsive. Do not gaze upon the offenses of your people, but upon those who have truly served you. Ah, yeah, gotta look at the good side things. Do not gaze. I just read that one. Do not.
Lawrence, I know that I shot your cat, but just ignore that.
Right. Yeah, just look at the good stuff. I got you a nice
bullet.
a nice bullet. I got you a nice bullet.
Yeah. Isn't it shiny?
Do not take note of the impious in their pursuits, but of those who have kept your covenants despite tribulations. Do not think of those who have conducted themselves wickedly before you, but remember those who have voluntarily acknowledged respect for you. Do not decree destruction for those who have lived like cattle, but be mindful of those who have taught so nobly your law. So I think what he's because if this is like if he's anticipating some global retribution, then this would make sense. Kind of. He's like, hey, you know what? Yeah, they're bad over there, but we're good over here.
Well, it says in Eerdmans, in this prayer, even though the word covenant appears, the thought and expression are applicable to all of humanity.
Interesting. All right.
Though I wouldn't think so.
I also wouldn't.
I disagree with John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt.
Yeah, because, I mean, beforehand they were talking about... I mean, it is a tough call because we were talking about people who were just not believers before, but we were also talking about the believers who transgressed. So it's... but the fact that they used covenant is interesting.
Yeah.
Although there are other phrases in here that are more vague, right? Because like those who have conducted themselves wickedly.
Mm-hmm.
It also says before you, so that could be a specific thing to the Israelites as well. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, what a weird book.
Yeah,
You know, like we have these semblances of covenant theology, right? But we also have Jesus stuff.
yeah, that's a fun one.
Mishmash.
Although that part is
Redacted. It was added.
Yeah. Do not be indignant with those who have been judged worse than beasts, but esteem those who have always manifested confidence in your glory. For we and our fathers have pursued the ways of death, yet because of us sinners, you are referred to as the merciful one. If you want to have mercy upon us who are without works of justice, then you'll be called the merciful one. Oh, yeah, he's playing that card.
Nice.
He's like, hey, if you want to be the God of mercy, you should not punish us.
Yeah.
And then God's like, well, I went through all that work to make Gehenna.
Right? Yeah, get some use out of it. For the just whose many good deeds are on deposit with you will receive their reward by virtue of their deeds. What is man that you should be angry with him, or the mortal race that you should be so embittered against it?
What is a man? A miserable little pile of secrets.
Is that from something?
Yep.
Yeah.
What's it from?
Castlevania.
Oh, okay.
Dracula. Man.
Or the mortal race that you should be so embittered against it. For in truth, none of those born is without sin, nor are those who exist without fault. And you know what? I think Ezekiel has some words for you on that first part. Thereby, Lord, your justice and your goodness will be revealed when you have compassion for those without a treasury of good deeds. He responded to me as follows. Yeah, I want to see how he's going to respond here.
The Hinnom Valley, I heard, was where the ancient Jews burnt their garbage. That's one way to put it.
Oh.
I'm not sure about what would have actually been happening there, but it certainly has been used as the place for human sacrifice in literature.
Right. Now, that raises an interesting question. What were the garbage disposal methods of the ancient Israelites?
I have no clue, man. I
Found a
couldn't
guy's
tell you.
house, and they crapped all over that guy's house. Remember that?
Well, one would think that a lot of it would be, composted.
One would hope. I mean, a lot of stuff just breaks down, and I
Yeah.
know that they built cities on top of old cities because whatever was there just got pretty much ruined over time or through war, and then they just made another layer and said, hey, we're going to build a city on top of that.
Yeah.
It's like when they thought that they found Troy, and there were like 7 layers of cities.
Right, yeah. It happens. Let's see here. So let's see how they respond. So he responded to me as follows. On some matters you have spoken correctly, and it will turn out according to your words. For indeed I will disregard the creation of those who have sinned, or their death, or their judgment, or their destruction. But I will rejoice over the creation of the just, over their pilgrimage, or over their pilgrimage to their salvation, and the reception of their reward. Hence, it is just as I have said, just as the farmer shows an abundance of seed upon soil, sows an abundance of seed upon soil, and plants a multitude of plants, but not all that has been sown will come up at the time, or all the plants that have been planted take root.
So
not all who have been sown in this world will be saved.
yeah, the angel or God replies that he too has to focus when viewing humanity on those who are just. God sows the seed, but he knows that not all seed sprouts, takes root, and grows to maturity.
You know, effectively, God is saying here, like, I can't just forgive them.
That would be asking too much.
Yeah.
It's beyond his power.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, the specific thing was like, hey, you know, what would show that you're really merciful is to not, judge poorly the ones who have, transgressed. But on the other hand, God is like, they didn't even take root. We couldn't save them all.
No, that would be too much.
Yeah. So this next part is also another question. Is man to be compared with seeds and plants? Good question there. Okay. I responded as follows. If you please let me speak. As for the seed of the farmer, if it does not come up because it has not received your rain at the right time or has been damaged by too much rain, it perishes. But man who has been molded by your hands and has been referred to as your image because he has been made like you, for whose sake everything was made, would you compare him to farmer's seed? No, Lord above us, spare your people. Be compassionate with your inheritance, for you do have sympathy for your creatures. He replied to me as follows. Ezra made some good points there.
Yeah. Seems like a humanist in this case.
Yeah, he replied to me as follows.
Yeah, God is responsible for all that humans do. How then can any person be punished by God when some evil is committed? It behooves God to spare his own creation.
So he replied to me as follows. The present is for the present. The future is for those to come. You are quite incapable of loving my creature more than I do, inasmuch as you have frequently reckoned yourself among the unjust. By no means. But in this too you will be regarded as commendable before the Most High, because you have humbled yourself, as is proper for you, and did not reckon yourself among the just, so as to have glorified overmuch. So this is effectively, I feel like God's just dodging these questions, man.
Yes.
For those,
Now, that's a great question. Let me just tell you that right there. And you're a smart person for asking that question. You should know that.
But you're not going to understand the answer.
Whoa. That's referring to the question again. I was dodging really hard.
For those who live in the world in the last times will be afflicted with many deplorable misfortunes, because they conducted themselves so arrogantly. But you must consider yourself and inquire about the glory of those like you. So, yeah, he's not actually answering Ezra's inquiry here. He's just like, just worry about yourself, man, okay?
Yeah.
For you, paradise has been opened, the tree of life has been planted, the world to come has been readied, and abundance has been provided. The city has been built, repose has been prepared, goodness has been achieved, wisdom has been pre-established, the root has been sealed from you, infirmity has been abolished from you, and death has been removed. Hell has fled. That's an interesting, I'm sure it's the same translation issue there, but it's interesting that now he's using hell. Corruption gone into oblivion. Afflictions have disappeared.
So check the textual commentary for hell there, because it might be a different term.
Well, there's no textual commentary for it, but I will check this. I think that was verse 53. Yeah, okay, so it has the parallel between death and hell, but he lists nothing about translations. He just notes some other parallels. It's more like a poetic style kind of thing.
Also, the tree of life was not planted for them.
Right, exactly.
They weren't banned from eating it, but God was definitely happy that they didn't eat from the tree of life.
Yeah. The afflictions have disappeared, and at the end, the treasure of immortality is disclosed. Therefore, ask no further questions about the multitude of those who are lost, for when they had the opportunity, they spurned the Most High. They held his law in contempt and abandoned his ways. He's like, no more questions. That's pretty good. That's a good dodge there.
Yeah.
Moreover, they trampled upon his just ones and thought there was no God, although they knew quite well that they must die. Completely different things, but okay. Just as the things set above await you, so thirst and affliction already prepared await them. Yet the Most High did not want man to perish, but those who were created themselves polluted the name of him who made them and displayed ingratitude toward him who had prepared life for them. For that reason, my judgment is now approaching. I have not disclosed it to everybody, but only to you and a few like you. So before we get into the final response by Ezra here, God's response to him is like, listen, don't worry about all that. Just worry about yourself. You're good. You're good. Just worry about yourself, even though he hasn't actually answered the question, why will you not be more merciful? So his response is like, yeah, you can't save them all. And then, yeah, so now we're kind of getting into a place where God's all like, well, I didn't like him. All right. I just don't like him.
Yeah. So
give me a break, guys.
Eerdman's comments, Ezra should not worry about the others who are not faithful. God certainly does not want any to be lost, but if some refuse to follow God, lost they will be, even if they are many. The cause of their loss is not God, but their own misuse of free will.
Yeah. Yeah. And we already talked about that. I responded as follows. Look now, Lord, you have told me about a multitude of signs which you are about to perform in the last days, but you have said nothing to me about the time. So that's what we're talking about. Next time is when is this going to happen? Yeah, so we talked about what's going to happen, but we haven't talked about when exactly.
Sort of why God is going to do this as well, or at least his plans.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, a couple more weeks of Second Esdras.
Yeah, and then we will be moving to something else. Oh, by the way, I did order the Thetan meter.
Oh, excellent. The Thetan meter has been ordered.
Yep. So it's
the prophecy has been fulfilled.
So excited to play around with it, and okay, so
excited to get sued by the Church of Scientology.
I don't think we'll get sued.
Oh, they love suing people.
Just you.
It'll be a slap suit or something. One of those, perhaps. But like, as long as there's no like slander, or as long as we don't actually do anything illegal, they have no case.
That's true.
Although it would just be annoying.
Yeah. Like the Church of Scientology. So interesting readings today.
Yeah,
way too much in the chapter that I read.
there was quite a lot there. But we got to talk about a lot of theological stuff.
Yes, we did. And some end times stuff.
Some after times stuff.
Yeah.
Which is cool because we really don't discuss either afterlife things in depth, at least as of yet, outside of Enoch.
Yeah, there hasn't been much of that.
There's been some cool questions proposed to God, and God has failed to answer some, which is even more interesting.
Specifically, just like, don't worry about that, dude.
No. You're great. You're doing well. Who cares about them? It's like, what?
Yeah. So if you enjoyed the stream today, be sure to check us out on Patreon.
Yeah.
You can be on the show if you enjoy it so
you
much.
You can get t-shirts, one of which Chris will pin. So you can get cool t-shirts. You can get all of our video scripts. You can be on the show. You can hang out with us. So why not consider becoming a patron?
Yeah, and if you just want to buy a t-shirt, check us out on Spring.
Yeah,
which
Spring.
It's not now. Teespring anymore. It's just
lost
Spring.
out on all those teas.
Yep,
they did. Maybe they had one too many teas, and they're like, you know what?
They threw it into the harbor.
Don't we also sell mugs and stuff?
Yeah. Check out our Amazon wish list. Tons of books on there.
Yeah, definitely. Lots of books on there, and there are a few that I am probably just going to order off of it anyways because I want to read them and stuff. But
oh no!
Yeah, I know. No,
don't worry, you'll add more to the list.
Guys, look, if you don't order the books, then Lawrence has to order the. Come on!
Yeah, I know.
But other than that, we also have Facebook and Twitter. Those are free,
completely free to follow us there. And I think is that the shilling? I think that's the shilling.
Yeah, that's the shilling.
All right, great. Well, hope you enjoyed the show, everyone. Make sure to share it around. And I suppose we will see you on Sunday.
Talk about the town.